The paradox of tolerance is an idea from philosopher Karl Popper. The idea is pretty simple to understand. Basically, in order to be tolerant, you have to not tolerate certain intolerant ideas. The classic example is if a society allows, say, fascist ideas to take hold, then those fascist ideas will eventually take root and overthrow the tolerant society, turning it into an intolerant one. This idea sounds like it makes perfect sense, right? Wrong! That's right. Karl Popper was a lib, and he propagated lib ideas. And if you thought it was a good idea, that means you're a lib, and you just triggered my lib dog.
Lib detected. Lib detected.
You see, I am a very intolerant person. I am maybe the most intolerant person imaginable. There are very few things that I tolerate. Most days I can't even tolerate myself. As such, I'm not interested in building a tolerant society. What does that even mean, Karl Popper? Karl Popper needs a pop in the head. Ba, 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 ba. I can say this because he's dead, I think. I really don't know. I'm not interested in building a tolerant society, okay? I'm interested in building a society for me, an intolerant one. However, the reason I bring up Karl Popper is because he does raise a good point. Namely, the paradox of intolerance. As intolerant people, it's important to realize that if a society becomes too intolerant, then it might actually start becoming tolerant. You see, if we as intolerant people don't tolerate other intolerant people, then the tolerant people will start to band together and overthrow us. It's very simple. If the intolerant are intolerant towards intolerance, and the tolerant are also intolerant towards intolerance, then nobody is tolerating intolerance. And so while the intolerant intolerate intolerance, the tolerant will tolerate tolerance and then become parliament. Toblerone. But what does this perfect intolerant society look like? Well, in order to create a fully intolerant society, we must accept people of all walks of life. And it's hard for me to tolerate these people because I'm so intolerant. That means homophobes are of course welcome because they don't tolerate homosexuals. But that also means I have to tolerate people that won't tolerate the idea of heterosexuality as a concept. I normally don't tolerate minority groups that don't tolerate majority groups, but because they're coming into an intolerant society, I've just got to let them in. Same goes for majority groups that can't tolerate minority groups. Normally I wouldn't tolerate them, but because they are intolerant, they have to be tolerated. I even have to let in the TERFs, which I'm extremely upset by. Not because they're trans exclusionary, but because they're feminists. Of course, then I also have to let in all the people who won't tolerate TERFs. Come to think of it, I'm gonna have to let in a lot of people. Look, I hate tolerating things as much as the next guy. But unless we stick together with our fellow intolerants, we might lose the right to be intolerant forever. And then what? Freedom of speech with some limits in terms of hate speech, libel, and inciting violence? Not on my watch. Only then will people from all walks of life be able to put aside their differences and speak to each other, not as proponents of their ideas, but as humans, expressing their intolerance peacefully with one another. As complex human beings, not limited in terms of what they believe. Oh fuck, I made liberalism again. Fuck! Fuck! Yo, 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 I don't tolerate homos, I don't tolerate straights, I don't tolerate those too quick to tolerate. I don't tolerate Turks and I don't tolerate Smurfs. You let Smurfs into society, man, you get burnt. I don't tolerate rape or consent neither. I guess you could call me the great equivalizer. Pfizer's rolling out the virus vaccine. I'll tolerate it if it won't tolerate me. Every time I drink milk, I feel really sick. That's right, I'm lactose intolerant.